concept of tampering or messing with cricket balls is nothing new in the sport. It's happened throughout the course of the game being played in England and its former colonies. There will always be scandals, there will always be cheating. That will never ever change. There will always be those who would want to attempt to fix a match through the tampering of equipment. But what are the methods for the tampering and why would the players do that? The discussion can range from the type of ball tampered with and why, and what would pressure players from any team and any playing country potentially to do such an act. Why is a ball vulnerable to be tampered with? A standard cricket ball weighs about 5.5 ounces. The inside is made from cork, bound and stitched together with thread around the circumference of the ball, creating the iconic seam. Because the ball is stitched together, it can be practically easy to tamper with. Messing with the ball can modify the flight path after the said player has thrown the ball, or affect the behavior trajectory after bouncing. Players are allowed to polish the leather side of the ball on their uniform or clothing, or to just clean it a little bit with a towel. But they are forbidden from applying or using any other substance other than their own saliva or sweat to clean the ball, and are also forbidden from deliberately scratching, scuffing, or otherwise roughing the ball or picking at it or the seams within or on the said cricket ball. But the nature of a cricket game means that the ball is frequently and often passing through the hands of players on the bowling side, so tampering with the ball can take a matter of seconds to do, and it can be impossible for umpires or officials to keep an eye on the ball at all times to make sure that everything is fair for all players. How would the tampering give a team or player an advantage during the game? When the ball is completely new, the outside leather skin is equally vibrant and shiny on both sides of the seam and will divert little on its flight after being thrown. But as the game's innings progress, the surface of the ball changes through constant contact with the cricket bat from being hit or grazed, contact with the ground from scuffs and rolls, and seldom impact against stadium infrastructure. If one side begins to show signs of wear and tear more than the other side, this is when circumstances will start to change after being thrown from the bowler's hand. The side that's in better shape through the course of the game has less resistance through the air when being thrown, and the other side, which might have more damage, has more resistance when thrown through the air, so the overall trajectory of the ball changes. As a result of the change in ball dynamics, this is called swing. Depending on how the said bowler released the ball from their hand, they can make it swing either towards or away from the player holding the bat. Uncertainty and variables over the direction and distance from which the ball might deviate during the throw makes it harder to hit by the bat. Tampering with the ball, as mentioned, will exaggerate the extent of the swing even more. Bowlers will usually attempt to make the ball pitch or land on the seam so that when the ball bounces on the ground, it will deviate during the landing. Ball tampering will also exaggerate the extent of this as well. Will ball tampering help the cheating player or team? Tampering with the said ball won't always help. Messing with the ball in theory can be most helpful for what's known in the game as fast bowlers. Players who throw the ball at speeds of around 90 miles per hour. Slower players can attempt to alter the direction of the ball by using their fingers and wrists to apply spin when thrown. The most desired type of throw is called reverse swing. This happens when the said ball is worn out and the aerodynamics cause it to change swing towards the polished side after being thrown. This happens because the air begins to flow turbulently along both sides of the ball. The angled position of the seam causes the flow of air to separate earlier on one side than the other, adjusting its direction. Reverse swing can be hard to achieve or obtain and can only really occur in hot or dry weather conditions and after a ball has acquired a great amount of age. A great deal of alleged ball tampering is meant to accelerate the process of deterioration or wearing out with the said ball to allow reverse swing to occur. Because of the commercial use of cricket balls in modern games, reverse swing can be somewhat hard to obtain. The methods for ball tampering. Players have used countless items to try and mess with the ball, including wax, spit, and sunscreen to illegally make the unscuffed side of the ball slicker and shinier. Another way to tamper with the ball is to soak the whole ball or one side, since wet leather is more easily scuffed. Players have also been seen picking holes into it and also rubbing dirt into it as well. The seam of the said ball can also be picked, nicked, or lifted with a fingernail, for example. How long has ball tampering been with the game, and can it be stopped? Ball tampering has been with cricket for as long as it's been played professionally. There will always be players or teams which will try to gain an advantage over the opposite team. But with all of the complexity of modern cricket games, it's almost impossible to make sure that the game or equipment is tamper-proof and perfectly fair for all players. Why do players tamper with cricket balls? Modern cricket games can be extraordinarily political and have nationalist sentiment behind the motivations for rigging equipment or games. All teams have huge history behind their nations with the game, and to an extent each and every game is of national importance, pride, and urgency. To be a part of that greatness, to have your name mentioned with the legends of the game, can cause players to cheat and gain an advantage to what can be gained through deceit rather than through fair play and honor. What are the consequences for ball tampering? Rigging equipment has penalties, but the crime for being caught can vary depending on the severity of the tampering, the said game involved, and the country in which the cricket rigging incident occurred within. When players are caught, the said player can have shame over them for as long as they continue to play the game. It can be even a lifetime of stigma and ridicule from not just other commentaries, or nations. It can even be from the player's home team and nation. The entire nation can also be associated with the cheating player. It wasn't the English player who cheated, it was the English nation itself that cheated. It wasn't the Australian player that rigged the equipment, it was the entire Australian team who conspired to rig the equipment. This realization can be soul-shattering. It can crush any man or woman, and it has more than once throughout the history of the game. In conclusion, ball tampering is a huge problem for the game of cricket, but as mentioned, it can never be truly eradicated. There will always be scandals and cheaters who will attempt to do such things to harm the legitimacy of the game. The only thing that can be really done is learn from past mistakes and continue onward with playing.